going on, guys? Welcome to the new edition of the Fresh as Me Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Lance, and sitting next to me, you got Kevin.
Yep, what's up, guys?
So, we're here to talk about, recent things in sports. Mainly, we're going to focus on a UFC 211 card, which is Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos, set to take place on May 13th, 2017. So, Kevin, what do you think about, the way this card looks so far?
I'm so excited for this card. This has probably been the best card so far of this year. We had a few busts, and this one has a lot of potential. From the first fight to the last, even the prelims look really good. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of big names on this card. Obviously the main event's Stipe Miocic versus Dos Santos. We also have Joanna Jay versus Jessica. I always forget how to pronounce her last name.
Andrade.
I apologize if I pronounce the name wrong. But then you also have Damian Maia versus Jorge Masvidal on here. You have Frankie Edgar versus Yair Rodriguez. And then the odd fight in UFC 211 is Eddie Alvarez versus Dustin Poirier. That's a weird fight to see on the preliminaries, considering the fact that Alvarez was the champion last fight that he was in.
He main evented the first ever card in MSG history against Conor McGregor in the main event, and now he's fighting on the prelims. What a fall from grace.
Talk about bad luck. I mean, just how does that happen? You're the number one guy in your division, and you're still number 3, but you get put all the way down to your preliminaries. It makes you wonder, it's almost like they want him to lose so they can kick him out of the, so he doesn't have to get the main event. Because if he wins this fight, he's definitely going to be a main event fighter for whatever card he's on next.
Yeah, he'll be on the main card. I just feel like they put Eddie Alvarez on the prelims because a lot of the prelims have been lackluster, and you put a big name like that coming off, a lot of fans know who he is because he just fought Conor McGregor, and Eddie Alvarez has been around for years, so I just feel like it's just a boost to make people tune in at 8:00 instead of just waiting for the pay-per-view to start at 10.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting fight, being that Alvarez, you never know who he's gonna get with him, but you can say the same thing with Dustin Poirier. Eddie Alvarez is 28-5. His last fight being a loss against Conor McGregor, and then you got Poirier 21-5. And they both have something they need to prove. You got the number 3 to number 9 fighter going against each other, and I think ultimately it's just gonna be a brawl. Alvarez definitely has something he has to prove. Poirier's gonna want to climb back up, so it's definitely gonna be an interesting fight. What do you think? What's your take on it?
Well, I feel like for Eddie Alvarez, he has to shake off that loss against Conor McGregor. He just went on saying how his worst nightmare came true, being knocked out in front of millions of fans, and he said he was kind of happy that happened because his worst fear turned into just a thing in the past where he realized his friends, his family are still there. People still respect him. People still, Eddie Alvarez, the guy's been around for years and years, and one loss doesn't define your career. But this fight, I feel like, it's gonna, it's the main event in the prelims. It's probably just gonna go on right before the start of the main card, but it's gonna be a slugfest. I don't see a lot of wrestling going on. It's probably, I don't see it going past the second round. I feel like Eddie Alvarez is just going to really come out, make his statement, and show that, hey, my loss to McGregor isn't going to be the last thing it's going to be the last thing people think of because, he's still lurking for that Nate Diaz fight. So, Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, I feel like Alvarez wins it by TKO second round.
Yeah, with this fight, like you even said, it's gonna be a slugfest. Alvarez, he has 61% of his finishes are by KO, TKO, and then Poirier, he's at 48. So, statistically, they both like to stand and throw the hands. So it should be an interesting fight. But the one thing that I personally find interesting is is he gonna be like Weidman, where he was on top, he was the champion, and then he suffered his first loss. Is he going to be the same fighter before that loss, or is he going to be this different guy? Because with Weidman, he was, he lost to Luke Rockhold, and then after that fight, he just wasn't the same fighter. He lost to Yoel Romero by that one devastating knee that opened his skull. And then that controversial loss to who was that?
Mousasi.
Yeah, that's right, Gegard Mousasi.
Gegard Mousasi.
That it makes you wonder where is is he still does he still have that urge to go out there and get the W, or is he just going to be lackluster and kind of just fall off where that's pretty much where Weidman's heading now.
Yeah, but Eddie Alvarez right now, it's once he steps in the octagon, they announce his name. I feel like it might come back into his head. Like last time I was in here, I was knocked out by McGregor. But Eddie Alvarez's skill set is so much better than Dustin Poirier. Like, his wrestling is better, and I believe his striking is too. Don't forget, he knocked out Dos Anjos for the belt. So, Eddie Alvarez is gonna be fine. I feel like he's gonna pick up a win. It might be even decisive. It might be like one of those where it's like, oh shit, Eddie Alvarez is back. But I have him taking this fight 100%. Alvarez, I wasn't a big fan of him, before the McGregor fight, but after how he took the loss and how he's bouncing back, how he's doing the media rounds, I'm starting to become a fan of him.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot more to lose with this fight, considering the fact that he was a champion and he got bumped down. So hopefully he can come back and win this. But going on to the main event, the next
main card.
The first fight on the main card is Henry Cejudo, if I'm saying that correctly.
Cejudo,
that's right. I apologize. Against Sergio Pettis, and this is actually, at least personally, I think is a really good fight because you have.
I don't agree. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't agree. I feel like this is the bathroom break after the Alvarez Poirier fight.
I don't know. I mean, see, here's the problem. It's a flyweight fight. So with that being said, it's not a weight class that a lot of people follow. I mean, personally, I think it's interesting. Like you have him, you have Joseph Benavidez, and you have Demetrius Johnson. There's a lot of talent in that division that I feel like they don't get recognition.
Because that division sucks. It's not entertaining.
Not that it sucks. It's just they don't promote it like the other ones. And
because
I feel
it doesn't make money.
Yeah, but think about it. If you're not promoting it, of course it's not going to make money.
They try to promote Demetrius. Let's not get into this because we argued about this last time. Let's focus on this card.
Let's focus on this card. They're barely doing anything. They're still doing old school flyers on telephone poles.
Come watch this fight. Come watch this fight.
They got the local high school kids just running into the pole. But no, personally, I think it's going to be an interesting fight because you have one freestyle fighter versus a taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. So it's two very unique styles that are going against each other, and there's a lot that can happen with that. Personally, I think it's going to be to come down to the decision. I feel like Pettis is going to win this fight by actually I'm going to say a split decision because I feel like Cejudo's got a lot to prove too. I mean, he has 2 losses, one being to Demetrius Johnson for the title, and another one being Joseph Benavidez. Who do you think wins this fight?
Personally, I don't care, and I'm actually going to do something right here where I'm going to flip a coin and I'm going to decide who I think is going to win. So I'm going with heads for Henry, tails for Sergio. So
let's see what we got.
We got heads, so I'm going with Henry.
All right. So since you can't flip on this, how do you think he wins?
Okay, so I'm going to flip a coin again. It's going to be heads will be TKO and decision. And tails is going to be both of them just say, fuck it, it's not worth being on the main card. Yeah, so let's go.
We're going to get a real day job.
All right, we got head, so it's going to be either TKO or decision.
TKO, Henry Cejudo. That should be very interesting.
Yeah.
So, going on to the next fight on this card, you got Frankie Edgar versus Yair Rodriguez.
Which I feel like this is, I'm really, really excited for this fight, man. You have Yair Rodriguez right now, who's like the up-and-coming fighter of this division where coming off of a destructive win over BJ Penn, man, sent his ass back to the retirement home. And then you have Frankie Edgar, who's, he's a legend in itself. It's gonna be a good fight because both of their styles clashing together. I feel it's gonna be really good. Yair Rodriguez, he's a young gun. He's coming up right now. He's hungry. He wants wins. And, this is a good time for him to really pick up a win against a name like Frankie Edgar, number 2 ranked right now in the featherweight division. I feel like it's going to go all 3 rounds, and I think it's going to go Yair Rodriguez, where it's him dominating most of the fight.
Yeah, with this fight, there's it comes down to this. You got the technical fighter, which is Frankie Edgar, versus the very flashy fighter in Rodriguez. I mean, statistically, pretty much half their fights they win by decision, and so you can only hope that it's going to be an entertaining brawl or something down the lines of that. But what's interesting is the fact that you got Edgar who just beat Jeremy Stevens.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
I'm getting tired of hearing Conor. But you got Rodriguez who's on an 8-fight win streak. His last fight, like you said, was against BJ Penn in Fight Night in the beginning of the year. Then you got, like I said, you have Edgar who he beat Stevens by unanimous decision. So they're both. And I feel like Rodriguez is coming in with more of a fire, being that he has an 8-fight win streak. But then you have Edgar who, if he shuts down this hype and he beats him, he could, he's in the title picture again. So
I feel like with this one though that Yair's gonna come out, he's gonna really take the fight to Frankie, but I feel like Frankie's just gonna be like, all right, you're gonna fight at my pace. He's gonna try to dictate the fight, and I feel like Yair's just gonna be like, fuck you, man. I'm in this one. You're either going down or you're gonna suffer 15 minutes of my foot in your ass.
I don't know. I think the technical standpoint of Edgar, I feel like as flashy as Rodriguez can be, I think Edgar, I think ultimately Edgar wins this fight. I'm not too sure how he wins it.
Really?
Ultimately, I think it's going to be a split decision for Edgar, because I think he's just going to try to outpoint Rodriguez and try to play it safe. Because like I said, Rodriguez is very flashy. He has a nice record and an impressive record, just what he's done. So I think just if Edgar does what he does best and plays technical and he keeps he's not heavy on his feet and he does what he needs to do, I think he wins this fight by a split decision. So who do you think wins this fight?
Yair.
How do you think he wins? Decision?
I'm gonna go with decision.
He poisons his opponent.
He poisons his opponent 2 minutes before they walk out. Frankie Edgar is in the middle of the octagon. They touch gloves and he faints, and Yair he wins. No, I feel like it's gonna go 5 rounds. It's gonna be a 5 rounds, 3 rounds. I'm sorry, it's not a title fight. It's gonna go all 3 rounds. Unanimous decision, Yair.
Unanimous. So
yeah.
That should be interesting.
Yeah.
So going on to the next fight, you got Damian Maia versus Jorge Masvidal.
Another gem.
Yeah, this is I feel like this fight doesn't get as much recognition as it should. Same with the Edgar fight. Because you have Damian Maia who's 24-6, and then you have Masvidal who's 32-11. Who they both, you have the number 3 guy and number 5 guy, both who you could say if they win this fight, they're definitely they deserve a title shot. And the one thing that a lot of people are saying is that why did Maia take this fight? Because you could say that he already deserved the title shot.
Well, he could have waited. He could have waited until the winner of Woodley and Stephen Thompson. That's one thing that Tyron Woodley said, where he was confused. He was like, why the fuck did Damian Maia take this fight, knowing that if he would have waited, he would have probably been the number 1 contender for it.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also a career. What if he just needed to get paid? I mean, he can't just sit there and wait and just sit on the money he does have.
He would have made more money waiting for the fight. I think
Doing what though? Because they don't really have that much sponsorships and stuff outside. I mean, they do have sponsorships outside the octagon, but most of the money is when they got the fight kits and stuff inside. Which I feel like with the UFC and the Reebok deal, fighters aren't making nearly as much as they used to when they used to be able to promote themselves. Now the only way you promote yourself is by running your mouth, aka Conor McGregor and, who else out there? You got Woodley, who likes to run his mouth. You got Bisping, all these people who just talk, and, that's why they get recognition. But with this fight, you got Jorge Masvidal, who's on a 3-fight win streak. Last fight being a win by TKO punches against Don Cerrone.
Which was a shocker in my opinion. I had Don Cerrone actually winning that fight. I'm not a fan of Don Cerrone, but, he dominated that one.
See, I don't know. I like Donald Cerrone. He's awesome. He's one of those people. It's like, this card needs a fighter. I'll fight.
He talks like this and he wears a cowboy hat.
I don't know. I still think he's a cool dude. I mean, he definitely he's stepped in for certain cards to, fill the spot and keep a fight on, and that that's what I like about him, and that's ultimately why, he fought in January, and now his next fight is set for, I believe, UFC 213. Against Robbie Lawler, or was that 214?
213.
213, yeah. I thought I was correct the first time. But, he set the fight there. The reason why, usually he fights 2 to 3 months in between or something like that. This is 6 months?
Who?
about that?
Donald
Yeah,
or
Donald Cerrone. He
he just
about,
fought. Well, yeah,
he
yeah,
fought
yeah,
in January.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if he's fighting,
Well, Dana White had told him, "Hey, look, dude, pump the brakes. There's no reason why you should be fighting every other weekend." You know, I think that's one of the reasons why he lost too. The guy, you know, he's a gamer for UFC. You know, a lot of people say that Conor McGregor, you know, he doesn't refuse a fight. Or either does Donald Cerrone, man. He'll fight anyone at any time.
yeah, you know, and see that's why I like him though. You know, he's
No,
he's
no,
not
I
afraid to
respect
fight.
him.
But at the same time, if you fight too much, then you know your body's not gonna. You know, you
You're
don't
bound to run into a fist that's gonna knock you out.
Yeah, like you just don't like. I don't think he was 100% for that fight, and I think the fight against him and Lawler should be a very interesting fight.
We'll save that for the next one though. Let's
We'll
stick
talk
with
about that in the
Damian
future.
Maia versus Jorge
Yeah, but going
Masvidal.
on to this, you know, you have Masvidal who he beat Cerrone by TKO and a 3-fight win streak, and then you have Damian Maia who's on a 6-fight win streak with his last fight being against Carlos Condit, which he won that fight by rear naked choke, which was in August 27, 2016. So he's, you know, he pretty much, you know,
He's very well rested.
yeah, it's, you know, 10-month break, so he gets to jump in and, well, not 10 months, 8-month break or something like that. I don't know. I'm bad at math. But, you know, it's been a while since he's fought, so, you know, it definitely should be interesting. Who do you think takes this fight?
It's gonna be a good one, man, because Jorge's gonna come out and I feel like he's gonna have a high off of that TKO over Donald Cerrone. You know, Damian Maia, you know him. He's gonna stick you to the mat. He's gonna wrap you like a pretzel. He's gonna do everything possible to keep you to the floor. And I don't feel like Masvidal has enough to really hold his stand-up game against Damian Maia. So I believe Damian Maia is probably going to win by submission or TKO. I'm going with second round.
That's a pretty interesting perspective. Yeah, I feel like Damian Maia is going to win this. I mean, not that Masvidal doesn't stand a chance, but I feel like he's going to think he's a little too good and kind of come in a little overconfident. And, you know, like, yeah, he's known to have good wrestling, but, you know, most of his wins are by either decision or knockout, where Damian Maia, I mean, half of his wins are by submission. So, you know, obviously that shows that, you know, he's a good wrestler. You know, they're both, when it comes to, you know, being defensive, they're very, you know, they're very skilled in that aspect. You know, the interesting thing is that when you look at Masvidal, his takedown accuracy is a lot better, like almost doubled. So, you know, I feel like his wrestling is very underrated. So I feel like this is gonna be a very extreme wrestling match.
I feel like the only reason why his accuracy and his defense is that high is because not that many people, you know, he doesn't try to take many people down, and not that many people try to take him down. It's usually a slugfest with him. So I feel like that stat is a little like, you know, gassed up for a reason. I feel like Damian Maia.
Yeah, but his takedown, he averages almost 2 takedowns a fight though. I mean, I feel like that's decent. I mean, Damian Maia, he averages 2.99, which is pretty much three takedowns a fight.
Yeah, because that's his game, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. When you're with Masvidal, when you have somebody who's, you know, a stand-up fighter and stuff like that, to have 2 takedowns a fight, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm not discrediting. I like both of these fighters, man. I feel like this is going to be a good fight,
That's
too.
what I'm saying. I feel like the wrestling part of this fight is very underlooked, at least on Masvidal's standpoint. But I feel like Maia takes this fight. I think he wins, I'm going to say rear naked choke in the second round. And so you said
Damian Maia.
Damian Maia and
Second round.
in submission, right?
Submission, yes.
All right, no doubt. So going to the next fight.
Co-main event.
Yeah, co-main event fight is the UFC women's strawweight fight against Joanna Jay versus I always forget how to pronounce her other name, Jessica
Andrade.
Andrade.
Yeah.
And this, you know, not that this is a bad fight, but I don't know. I feel like this just doesn't fit this card too well. Like, I feel like if they moved this up to like 212 and brought Alvarez to the main event, like that card would have been a little bit better. But, you know, with this fight, it still should be interesting. I mean, you got, you know, Joanna Jay, you know, she's undefeated 13-0. Her last fight being at UFC 205 where she, you know, she won by unanimous decision. And, you know, it's interesting with her because she's in a very similar situation like Demetrius Johnson where, you know, she fights, she clears out the division for the most part, and it's almost gotten to the point where they have to, like, search for fighters so she can defend her belt. I mean, It's getting to the point where she's fighting people who have only fought an octagon once or twice. It's getting to the point where it's like, okay, we need to do something. It's almost like I feel like they're gonna do what they did with the flyweight division. They're gonna create like a tournament, and then like the winner of the tournament's gonna face her at some point, because there's just eventually you're gonna run out of people for her to fight. And then you got Jessica Andrade. I always pronounce your name wrong.
Just call her Jessica at this point.
I'm just gonna call her Jessica because I clearly can't speak tonight. But she's again another very impressive fighter. She's 16-5. Very good wrestler. I mean, she averages almost 3 takedowns a fight, and even her stats wise, she's very balanced. But I don't think anybody beats Joanna at this point. I think she's proven to be dominant. I think she stays proven to be dominant. What's your take on this fight?
Well, with Joanna, I'm a very, very big fan of her after the 5-round war at UFC 205. Going into that, the main fights I was really looking forward to was McGregor Alvarez and Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Thompson. And that fight took me by surprise, man. This girl can get down, and she can get down dirty, man. I feel like she's not ready to lose the belt yet. She's very impressive. With her last fight against Carolina, she can stand up, she can wrestle, everything. With Jessica though, she has power to her. Her striking, I believe, is gonna overpower Joanna. But Joanna, she's a gamer. She's the type of fighter to go in there, and she knows how to adjust. 5-round war. I feel like for some reason it's telling me it's gonna end in the first round with Joanna. It's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be by submission. I feel like Jessica's really gonna go out there and try to overpower her, and Joanna's just gonna slip away and then actually catch her, bring her to the floor, and win by submission. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely a very unique take considering the fact that Joanna has an 8% submission percentage.
But I feel like because if you look at it side by side, Jessica's a lot bigger looking than her, and Joanna, she's a scrappy fighter. She's 13-0 for a reason. And she's still hungry. She doesn't want to give up the belt. She already went on record saying she wants to be the first ever woman to champ, like McGregor was.
The 2 weight class champ.
Yeah, she wants to do that, and
I think it's possible.
You never know, but I feel like Joanna's gonna come out and win this fight.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going by submission, man.
See, I'd be interested to see her bump up and fight Nunez for.
Well, let's not get there yet. Hold on.
Or whoever Nunez, obviously.
Nunez is fighting, I believe, 213.
That's what I'm
She's
saying,
the co-main event with Cody
I don't
Garbrandt.
think they. Oh yeah, that's right.
She's the co-main event, yeah.
But I definitely think Joanna deserves. If she does win this fight, it would be her 8th or 9th title defense. It's definitely she's definitely proven that she's dominant at the division. It's the same thing with Demetrius Johnson. He's cleared out the division, so like he said that he was thinking about going up to bantamweight and maybe challenging the champion at that. And a lot of people were flipping out and were like, no, don't, why does he deserve this? But it's like, okay, Conor McGregor can do this, but he can't. I'd like to see Demetrius Johnson go up and fight the winner of Cody Garbrandt versus T.J. Dillashaw. And I think Joanna Jay is in a similar situation, and if she does win this fight, she should be. I think she's entitled to a women's featherweight fight, not featherweight, bantamweight fight.
It would be really impressive if she goes up 2 weight classes and fights Cyborg.
That's not even fair. That's like a teacher fighting like a kindergartner at that point, and the teacher's on steroids.
Yeah, Cyborg's fucking oof. That's a different story. But I have Joanna. Who do you have?
I think Joanna wins by decision. And our final fight to discuss, the heavyweight title fight between Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos, a fight that a lot of people are excited for. Personally, I'm definitely hyped about this fight. You have Stipe Miocic, who his last fight was against Alistair Overeem, which he won by knockout. And then you got Junior Dos Santos, who he has a 1-fight win streak. His last win was against Ben Rothwell. So you have 2 people who are definitely they have a lot to win because it is a title fight. But Junior Dos Santos was the last man to beat Miocic, so it's gonna be an interesting fight. What's your take on this?
I'm a big Stipe fan. My girlfriend's Croatian, Stipe's Croatian, so I kind of got into him a little more because of that. And I met the guy. The guy is just so cool, such a nice guy. And Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos 2. Their first fight, it was a war. Dos Santos won by decision, and the key thing about that was Stipe's last loss. Other than that, he's on a 4-fight win streak. He beat Mark Hunt, Andre Arlovski, Fabricio Verdum, he won the title against, and then he defended against Alistair Overeem. And since their last fight, Stipe has, he evolved as such a better fighter where his striking right now, I believe, is one of the best in UFC, and Junior Dos Santos is just as hungry to win that belt back ever since, he lost it back to Cain Velasquez. And this is going to be a war. Dos Santos said that he doesn't see this going past the second round. He'll knock Stipe out. Stipe, he's been going around saying, hey, look, I'm walking in as champion and I'm walking out as champion. And this is going to be just like their first fight, but with a different results. They're going to stand up. They're going to hit each other with everything they got. Stipe, he learned from his loss, and I believe that's why he's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He's one of the best. I still believe Velasquez has a slight edge against Stipe, but Stipe right now he's showing that you're gonna have to find a unique way to beat him. And Dos Santos, he beat Ben Rothwell his last fight, but he also lost TKO against Alistair Overeem, which was a little bit of a controversial decision. He got hit right in the jaw. Overeem went on top of him, hit him twice, and they called it, but Dos Santos got right back up and said, why'd you call it early? But with this fight, I'm really excited. I believe that this loss has haunted Stipe for a while, and he wants to really avenge it. And I have Stipe winning this fight. I believe it's only going to go 4 rounds, and I believe it's going to be by TKO. Stipe, his boxing right now it's up to the level where you're going to throw a bunch of punches at him. He's going to pick and choose, and he's going to select at the right time. He's done it his last 4 fights. He knows what he's doing. Dos Santos, the guy's a warrior in his own right, but I feel like he's not on Stipe's level right now, and it's really going to show this Saturday. And Dos Santos is going into that fight very, very confident, and I feel like he's still believing that he's going to fight the last Stipe he fought, and he's in it for a rude awakening. Stipe is going to come out there. He does not want to lose his belt. He's just going to be... I don't feel like he's going to be as aggressive as he was during the first fight. He's going to pick and choose, but he's going to be very precise. Take a quote of Conor McGregor's, many quotes, is that speed will always lose against accuracy.
Who are you with that fucking Conor McGregor?
Yeah. Power against power, and I feel like Stipe will definitely come out, and he's going to be, and still, UFC heavyweight champion of the world, and we're finally going to get that match against Cain Velasquez for Stipe, or I'm open to an Overeem versus Stipe rematch, but we'll see what happens with Verdum and Overeem. But right now I'm going with Stipe, man. Stipe, I have to stay on the Stipe train. The guy is so nice in and out of the octagon, and then once he steps in, he turns into a complete warrior. He got that immigrant mentality. He has that bulldog fight to him, and I'm picking Stipe, man.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the way I look at that fight. After seeing Stipe fight against Alistair Overeem, yeah, he won that fight, but I feel like he wasn't as defensive as he should be. I mean, he got hit a few times. There was that one point where you could question Overeem what he did, because he knocked Stipe down and then he went for like a guillotine choke, and it was just like, why are you not just doing hammer fist and trying to TKO him at that point? So I feel like Stipe needs to work on his defense. He's ultimately going to make sure he doesn't get tagged, because Dos Santos, here's the thing, Overeem's more of a technical striker, where Dos Santos he just has that heavy overhand right. And with that being said, I feel like that gives Stipe a little bit more of an advantage, because he doesn't, as long as he could he sees the overhand right coming, he can get away from it. Where over him, he was placing his shots nice. Ultimately, what I think is the biggest factor is where Stipe's wrestling. I feel like he can outpower Dos Santos on the floor if he really needed to. But ultimately, I feel like Stipe is, he's the younger fighter. I feel like Dos Santos is a little war torn at this point. He's had way too many brawls. I would even say he's close to the retirement phase because he's just. I don't see he has much more in the tank, to be honest. Ultimately, I think Stipe wins this fight. I'm going to say, second round by knockout.
Yeah, you said knockout by Stipe, which I agree with. I'm all for it. I really hope that happens.
I just feel like Dos Santos, he's been in, like I said, he's been in too many brawls. I just don't think he has the endurance and the toughness to endure a brawl with Stipe. Where Stipe, yeah, he was in a decent brawl with Overeem, but it wasn't as bad as some of the other brawls in the UFC as of recent. Like I said, I think Stipe knocks out Dos Santos because he's just, I don't think he has enough in the tank to make it through this fight.
See, with that, I mean, I hope that happens, but not. Junior Dos Santos, don't forget, he TKO'd Cain Velasquez, and Cain Velasquez, in my opinion, is the best heavyweight to really hit this division because the guy is just. He never gets tired. He's a good wrestler. He has knockout type power.
I disagree with the tired part because
he doesn't get tired. Look at him, man.
If you look at his couple of recent fights, he can still fight when he's gassed, but he still gets gassed pretty easily. And
Velasquez? No, he doesn't get gassed.
Yeah, he got when he fought Dos Santos in the second fight. Actually not the second fight, the fight that he lost the title. He gassed out in the second round. No, he didn't gas out.
It was an overhand hit. He hit Velasquez. Velasquez got hurt, went to the floor. Dos Santos hammer fisted him, and then they called it. It was the first round. He just got caught. He got caught, and Velasquez came back the third fight and beat the living hell out of Junior Dos Santos. The only reason why Junior Dos Santos is in this position right now is because he got Verdum and Velasquez. They were fighting for, I believe, I don't know if it was interim, but the winner was going to fight Stipe, and Velasquez, of course, got hurt. That's his only knock of him as a fighter is that, he does get hurt very easily, AKA. But
that's the thing. Cain, he has the injury bug, and he just hasn't.
It's the same as I think with Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold gets hurt too because they're in the same camp. Daniel Cormier as well, but Cormier has been. I don't want to go off topic talking about other fighters, but
I mean, when you look at Cain, he fought in December 2012, then he fought in May 2013. It was up until October 19, 2013 that he started taking big breaks because then it was 2 years, a little under 2 years, because his next fight after that was June 13, 2015. And then another year after that, which was July 9th, 2016. So he's taken a lot of time off. I don't think, I feel like I said, the injuries are catching up to Cain Velasquez, and that's going to be a problem with him, if he wants to be he's the second, number 2 in heavyweight, but I don't think that really means much if you fight once every 2 years.
But with the Stipe Dos Santos fight, with Dos Santos' losses, I know he lost to Overeem. Overeem has a very wide arsenal of ways he can fight in a fight. He has kickboxing, he has boxing, he'll bring it to the floor. And one of the things that really opened up his win against Dos Santos was his kickboxing. Junior Dos Santos really didn't close the distance. He tried to, but Overeem never let him do it. And then Overeem hit him with overhands. Knocked Dos Santos right in the jaw. Stipe really doesn't have that. Stipe is more of a guy where he'll exchange punches with you. It's just that the guy hits hard. You have to make sure that if you're gonna hit Stipe, you better really hit him and you better stay on him. Don't let that guy catch a breath. But with Dos Santos, he's more of, I wouldn't say wide range when it comes to that because his boxing is good. I mean, Dos Santos is such a powerhouse, man. He TKO'd Cain Velasquez, and that's something, not many fighters can say that they have done. And with Stipe, the guy's going in very, very hungry. He feels like he's the underdog again. Many people have Junior Dos Santos winning this fight because of the first one. But like I said, Stipe has evolved in such a different fighter since that last fight. And the guy, he beat Mark Hunt. He beat Verdum, for the belt. He knocked him out in Brazil. And Overeem too. He overcame that one hit to the jaw, knocked him on his ass, tried to put him in a guillotine. Stipe fought out, and I don't feel like Stipe is ready to give up that belt, and he really, really, really wants to beat Junior Dos Santos so he can say, hey, look, feed me Cain Velasquez. I've beaten all the top heavyweights right now. Give me somebody I haven't fought yet, and that's why I feel like the Stipe title reign will not end this Saturday.
Yeah, one important thing to note when you look at Dos Santos going into this fight is that, he fought Cain Velasquez in 2011 when he won the title, defended it once against Frank Mir, and he won that fight by TKO punches. Fought Velasquez again, he lost the title to that, and this is where it gets interesting because he beat Frank Mir, he lost to Velasquez, he beat Hunt, he lost to Velasquez again. He beat Stipe, which was a unanimous decision, which I thought Stipe could have put a little bit more, I thought at least he could have made it a split. And then you have, the loss to Overeem and then win to Rothwell. So his last 6 fights are loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So it almost makes you wonder, is he going to fit the pattern and lose this fight? But like I said, I think he will. I think Stipe wins this fight by knockout in the second round. And you said it was you wanted him. You thought he was going to win in the 4th round by knockout, right?
One question: when was Dos Santos versus Ben Rothwell?
Dos Santos versus Ben Rothwell was April 10th, 2016. So a little over a year ago.
It's over a year ago, yeah.
So that's the thing with a lot of these heavyweight fighters. There's a lot of gaps between their their records. Like I think the most active fighters in the heavyweight division are Overeem, Stipe, Verdum, and then as funny as it sounds, Travis Brown.
And Roy Nelson. Don't forget about Roy Nelson, man.
Roy Nelson. He's also been in there.
For some reason, you could look at a fight night or a Fox fight night, whatever the hell they call it, and the guy's always on the card. You don't realize it, but he's always fighting. But let me ask you this: it's been over a year. Do you feel like Dos Santos is going to come out more fresh, or you think he's going to have octagon rust on him?
I mean, it's going to be...
As good of a fighter he is, how do you feel like, is Dos Santos going to come out, feel the octagon, get back in the groove, or do you feel like he's going to be rusty where he's like, oh shit?
I think he's going to be very slow. He's not going to... I feel like his reflexes aren't going to be as quick enough to where he's going to be dodging the blows that Stipe Miocic are going to be throwing at him. Because like I said, he's... In his last 6 fights, 3-4 of them were brawls.
Yeah.
So, there's, for some, for a 33-year-old fighter, he's taken a lot of damage, just like Don Cerrone, somebody who's, fought a lot of times, when you take, with any fighter, when you go through a lot of fights and you get beat up and beat up and beat up, and whether you win or lose, whatever, that's besides the point. But when you're going to go into a fight after that and you're just not going to be the same caliber of fighter because your endurance isn't there because you've just taken too much damage in your previous fights. And a perfect example of that is Robbie Lawler, because if you see when he had the brawl against Rory McDonald, then he had the brawl against Carlos Condit.
Yeah.
And then he fought against Tyrone Woodley after that, and he got knocked out by, it looked like a pillow punch at that point. Not saying that Woodley doesn't have power, but, he's taking a lot harder shots than that, and just more shots in general than that in his previous fights. And just to see him go down as quickly as he did, because I believe he lost in the first round with that fight.
Yes.
And, that just proves my point exactly that, even the greatest fighters, when they take a lot of damage, that next fight could be something where it ends so quickly because they just haven't fully recovered. And I just don't think Dos Santos has fully recovered to the point where he can, overcome and beat Stipe and get a second win. I think Stipe redeems himself and beats Dos Santos. But I will say this: if Stipe wins this fight and in a dominant fashion, I wouldn't mind seeing a rubber match at some point.
Of course, you have to
because
do the
they've already
trilogy,
fought. Because Dos Santos won once already. And then with, if Stipe can win this fight, it definitely would be a good rubber match. As long as it's entertaining. If it's like that Thompson-Woolley fight, that's...
the second one?
Even the first one wasn't that good.
The first one was a war. What are you talking about? The second one sucked. The first one was...
slow, though. It was a war towards the end, but it was a very slow build-up to the brawl in the first one, but just even both of them. Like the second one, if you want to go to sleep, put that on and watch it when you're laying down.
Yeah, don't count
And,
sheep. Just watch that fight.
And you'll definitely you'll get a good night rest. You might even wake up and see part of that fight and go back to sleep. But with that being said, it wraps out this.
I have a quick question though. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay, never mind. It doesn't wrap up this.
Doesn't wrap it up yet, but I'm gonna say this. Say if Stipe wins against Junior Dos Santos, right?
Okay.
You now have, I would say, 4 fights against Stipe that. Which one would you rather see? Would you rather see Stipe versus Overeem 2, Stipe versus Verdum 2, Stipe versus Dos Santos 3, or Stipe versus Cain Velasquez? Which one do you feel like is the most appealing fight? Because I feel like all 4 of those fights are brilliant fights to have.
Well, if I'm correct, Overeem and Verdum are fighting in upcoming
213.
So you have that fight. So they're, you have the winner of that fight. I would say you put Velasquez against. It's hard. I'm trying to think how you would want to do this because you had. So you said there was Cain Velasquez.
Verdum,
Overeem, and who was the
Dos Santos? If he beats him.
So I would say the loser of this fight fights Velasquez.
Okay.
The winner of that fight fights the winner of the Overeem Verdum fight. The winner of that fight fights Miocic. You figure, after this fight, give him the time off. He's already, he's fought. Maybe if they fit it in at the end of the year, ultimately it comes down to the medical suspension. But I think ultimately you should have Cain fight the loser of this fight. You have the Overeem and Verdum. You have the 2 winners of those fight, the losers of those fight. And then, at that point, it comes down to how it builds up. And this is, ideal because, any fighter can get injured and pulled out or suspended for whatever reason. Like you had a Gastelum who just got suspended recently for...
smoking pot.
Yeah, which I think that's ridiculous because I don't know how that's a PED. I mean, if anything, that's...
it's stupid.
That hinders his performance. They actually made it a no contest. Like, he did not get credit for that win against Victor Belfort. They took it away.
Really? No way.
They took away that win for him.
That's such bull because he tested positive after for weed, right?
It's a no
so
contest.
So stupid.
See, I feel like they need to, amend that and fix it.
Get over the fucking pot thing, man. It's gonna be legalized in the United States anyway.
I mean, especially when you look at like everything going on. These fighters are putting their bodies on the line all the time and stuff like that, and they're fighting once every couple months, and with the the Reebok deal and stuff like that, they're losing more money, so they have to fight a little bit more than they usually do, and just on top of that, they have to, everyone wants to see a good fight, and to see a good fight, you need fighters that are prepared mentally, physically, or just they're healthy, and if a fighter needs it to get, if it helps them get healthy, why can't they should be allowed to do that. Again, it comes down to, certain states are legal, certain states are illegal, put it this way, if it becomes federally legal, and it's funny, I don't know how we got to cannabis being legalized,
yeah.
But, if it becomes fully federally legal, I think in the UFC, they should just completely... they should just allow the fighters, if it's going to help them, recover and stuff like that, they should allow it, it's you're pretty much by doing that, you're letting your fighter have the potential to perform at their best, and that's what, it's not like TRT stuff like that where they're getting stronger and faster, or it's like, oh, their reflexes are getting better. It's like, I don't, almost everybody I know that smokes, they're very, not, I wouldn't say stupid, but, I don't see any of them who their reflexes have improved because of it. It just, I don't know, that sounds a little ridiculous. But, looking at, the card, like we said, you have, Pettis versus, say Judo. You have, what's it called? You have Edgar versus Rodriguez, Maya versus Masvidal, Joanna J versus, Jessica A, and Miocic versus Dos Santos. A lot of good fights on this card. The one highlight fight on the preliminary, Alvarez from Poirier, should ultimately just all around be an amazing card, hopefully, as long as the fighters go out there and, throw it all on the line.
Yeah.
But, with that being said, this wraps up this edition of the Fresh as Me Sports Podcast. It was fun talking about this card. We'll probably have a review.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a review. I have
Probably
not done a review with Lance yet. We'll definitely do a
we're gonna
review
do a review
after.
card. We'll probably do it sometime next week.
Let's try to aim towards Monday. Actually, I'm free Monday.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
figure
do
that out
Monday.
at some point. But at some point next week, we'll probably have the review card. With that being said, I'm your host Lance. Sitting next to me, I have here Kevin.
Yep.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah. Till next time, guys.